I am 75 years old. My wife passed away 4 months ago. We were together for 50 years. Today, the house is very quiet. It is a silence that I am still trying to learn how to carry. When my friends come to visit, they often tell me how lucky we were to have found the perfect person. They talk about our marriage as if it were a fairy tale. But as I sit here looking at her empty chair, I realize something that might surprise you. If I am being honest, I think that I married the wrong person. And I am fairly certain that, for many years, she felt exactly the same way about me. I hope you will sit with me for a moment. Let me explain why being wrong for each other was the best thing that ever happened to us, and why it is the reason I miss her with every breath I take today. We often think that the right person means a life without friction. We believe that if we truly belong together, we should agree on everything. But in those early years, I was convinced I had made a mistake because of the small things. I liked the house cold. She wanted it warm. I wanted to save every penny for a future we could not see. She wanted to buy fresh flowers for the kitchen table because the sun was shining today. We argued about how to raise our children. We argued about how to spend our weekends. I remember sitting in the driveway after a long day of work, gripping the steering wheel and thinking, we are just too different. I must have married the wrong person. But as I look back now, I see that those differences were not signs of a mistake. They were the tools that life used to sand down my selfishness. You see, you do not marry a finished product. You marry a work in progress. And she did, too. Those daily irritations, the way she moved my keys, the way I snored, the way we handled stress, those were not obstacles to our love. They were the very things that forced us to grow. You do not learn how to be patient with someone who is perfect. You learn patience when the person across from you is difficult to love. I still have a pair of old leather boots in the closet. I bought them right after our wedding. They were beautiful, but for the first few months, they were a nightmare. They bit into my heels. They made my feet bleed. I remember telling my wife I made a mistake. These are simply not the right size for me. I wanted to throw them away. But she did not let me. She just handed me a tin of leather oil and told me to keep walking. So I did. I wore them through the mud, the rain, and the long hours at work. And slowly something happened. The leather stopped fighting me. It started to soften. It learned where my feet were wide and where my ankles were thin. By the time the soles wore out years later, those boots were more comfortable than being barefoot. That is what those 50 years were. In the beginning, we did not fit. We bruised each other. We both thought we had married the wrong person because it hurt. But marriage is not something you find. It is something you wear in. You oil it every day with a little kindness and a lot of silence. I look at those boots now, sitting in the dark of the closet. They are battered and worn. But they are the only things that truly fit me. I would give anything to put them on and walk one more mile with her. People often say that marriage should be 50-50. I am here to tell you that is a lie. In 50 years, it was almost never equal. There were months when my wife carried 80% of the weight because I was lost in my own failures or my own grief. And there were years when I had to be the strength for both of us because she simply could not find her own. The secret I found is that love is not a feeling. Feelings are like the weather in the Midwest. They change every hour. One day you are warm, and the next you are cold. If I had relied only on how I felt during our hardest winters, I would have walked away decades ago. Instead, I learned that love is a skill. It is a decision you make every single morning when you wake up. You look at that person across the breakfast table with all their flaws, their sharp edges, and their irritating habits, and you say to yourself, "I choose you again today." You do not choose them because they are perfect. You choose them because you decided that your promise is more important than your temporary unhappiness. In the end, that is how the wrong person becomes the only person in the world who matters. It is through the thousands of small, quiet decisions to stay, even when every bone in your body wants to leave. I am 75 years old, and my house is very quiet now. But as I look at that empty chair, I do not feel regret. I realize that marriage is perhaps the most beautiful mistake a person can make on purpose. It is a commitment to a stranger who will change 1,000 times, just as you will change 1,000 times. If you are sitting there today, wondering if you married the wrong person, I want you to know that you probably did. We all did. But that is not the end of the story. It is only the beginning of a masterpiece. Do not throw away the boots just because they give you blisters. Stay, oil the leather, keep walking, because one day you will realize that those blisters have turned into a comfort that the world can never give you. I miss her every single day, not because she was perfect, but because she was mine and I was hers. We spent 50 years making it right, and if I could go back to that young man sitting in his car, gripping the steering wheel and wanting to leave, I would tell him to go back inside. I would tell him that the wrong woman in that kitchen is going to become the greatest blessing he will ever know. I am the Silver Porch. Thank you for sitting with me today. If you are still walking your path, do not give up on the person beside you. The view at the end is worth every difficult step. Tell me your story in the comments. I will be here listening.